If you've been in a car wreck recently and the insurance adjuster is calling you, this video is for you. I get it. You're worried you're going to say the wrong thing, sign something you're not supposed to, and mess up your whole case. Well, I've helped hundreds of folks in your exact situation, and I know just how these conversations go. So in this video, I'm going to provide you with a word-for-word script so that you can keep your case strong and keep from getting taken advantage of. So first, the purpose of this call from the insurance adjuster's perspective is to get information, lock in your story, and try to minimize the payment that they have to make to you. Your purpose of this call is to give them the essential information they need and not give too much information away that can weaken your case, right? And so before this phone call, I want you to remember to keep calm, get your notes, get everything ready for you to make this phone call to them. So have your accident report and have the notes about what happened right in front of you so you don't have to fumble around for that stuff. This first phone call is supremely important. And I've seen it screwed up countless times in these kind of three particular ways. The first way is people tend to overshare or undershare by saying things like, I'm fine, or this has ruined my life. And this is wrong because if you begin to say too much or exaggerate what's going on, the insurance adjuster is going to start discrediting everything you have to say. On the flip side of that is if you start telling them that you're fine, well, now they're going to use that against you in a month or two when it turns out you're not fine. And the second thing, the way that I see people screw this up is they just get too emotional. They get on the phone and something really bad's happened. They can't go to work. It's been 3 or 4 days since you've been back to work, and you're just really emotional about the impact it's had on your life. This is going to have a negative impact on the adjuster's kind of opinion of you. And maybe you're someone they can't work with, or they're going to immediately start to discredit whatever you have to say about the case. Or about what's going on in your life. The third thing that people do is they start talking about injuries or the lack thereof injuries when you just don't know yet. It's way too soon to know anything about your injuries right now. It's only been 48 hours or 24 hours since the wreck. You don't know if you have anything wrong with your shoulder or your back or your leg. So to avoid these problems, we put together a little script for you. And we're going to also put this in the description so that you can copy it and get ready for your first phone call with the adjuster. But I'm going to pull this computer over and read you exactly what we want you to be thinking about and what you want to say. So the first thing I want you to say when the phone call starts is, "Hi, this is Brooks. I understand you're handling the claim for the crash that happened on," insert your date. "I'm happy to speak with you, but I'd like to make sure we stay focused on just the basics today." This is a really good kind of boundary setter piece of communication. You want to let them know that, hey, I'm not getting into all these other things today. I'm just going to talk the basics. All right. And it's important to set these boundaries early. If they ask to record you, this is one of the things we've talked about a lot. If they ask for you to make a recorded statement, I want you to say this: "I'm not comfortable giving a recorded statement at this time. I'd be happy to provide general information and follow up in writing if needed." All right. And if they press you on this, here's the next thing I want to say: "I understand, but I want to make sure I have everything straight before giving any recorded statement. I'll follow up once I've reviewed my notes and records." What you can say to them in this first conversation, and what I want you to have kind of written down in front of you before you get on the phone with these folks, is you can say the date and time of and location of the crash, your car and the other driver's info. That information will be on the accident report you have in front of you. You're going to say that the other driver caused the crash, obviously, and that you're still receiving medical care if you are. Or you might want to tell them, "I haven't received any medical care yet, but I plan on going to the doctor tomorrow," or whenever you have an appointment, and that you'll send them documents once they're available. That's important. So you want to set this kind of the boundaries up, say a little bit about what's going on right now, and then set the boundaries for future communication. And so here's an example. The adjuster says to you, "Can you tell me what happened?" And this is what I want you to say: "I was driving straight through the intersection with a green light, and the other driver turned left in front of me. The police report reflects that," right? This is just facts. There's also going to be potentially a little blurb on the accident report that says what happened from the police officer's point of view. Don't get into all this color about what happened inside the car, that you flopped around or crashed around, or that your laptop came flying over your shoulder. You don't have to do any of that stuff on this first phone call. You just have to tell them the basics so that they can type it into their computer, they can acknowledge who's at fault, and then you can move on to further investigating your case, okay? If they ask you, were you injured? And you were, if you know that you were injured, you say, yes, I started feeling pain later that day and went to the doctor. I'm still being treated. If you don't know if you're hurting, you tell them, I'm going to go see a doctor today, or I'm going to the ER tomorrow to get checked out. You don't have to say yes or no that you aren't hurt. You don't want to say, no, I'm not hurt today, and then show up at the doctor tomorrow. Just say, I'm going to the doctor, because one of the things I want you to always remember is if you're in a crash, go get checked out, no matter what. In these phone calls, here is what not to say, all right? What I don't want you to say. Don't say, I said this earlier, don't say I'm fine. Don't say it wasn't that bad. Do not say I was kind of speeding. Don't say I didn't go to the doctor right away, right? Don't admit these things, right? You don't want to say these things, because whether or not you went to the doctor right away doesn't matter about whether or not you're hurt, okay? It's what we say to folks that we're talking to in normal communication and normal conversation, but you don't want to say that to the insurance adjuster, all right? And you don't want to joke and chat casually with these folks. They're listening. They want to latch on to whatever they can. They're going to be kind and sweet, and they're going to talk to you like they care. And so don't get sucked into the idea of like you can communicate about just about anything with them, all right? What's especially dangerous, if they ask you like, did you see the other driver before the crash? Don't say, not really. I might have looked down for a second. Don't say that, right? You say, I was traveling straight through the intersection. The other driver turned left in front of me suddenly. I didn't have time to react. Okay, so these are much different pieces of information that you're providing. You're not saying anything that's not true, but you're sticking to the facts, things that they can type into their computer. There's no other way to interpret it other than the other driver was at fault. Okay? The next thing I want you to remember about these conversations is that you're in control. Don't let them take you down different rabbit holes, okay? If they keep digging and they're pressing you for injury details or things like that, this is what I want you to say. I'm still getting treatment. I don't want to give incomplete information. I'll send records when I have them, okay? That's very easy, very selective. You're giving them information that you're not being a jerk and saying, I'm just gonna send this to you when I want to. You're giving them, this is what I'm gonna do, and you're very calm and controlled in that type of communication with them. If they ask, this is one thing I don't want you to talk about at all in this conversation, is any prior injuries, right? If they ask you about prior injuries, this is what I want you to say. I'd rather keep this focused on the crash itself. I'll include anything relevant when I send over the documentation, okay? Again, very calm. You don't have to say, you know, this was my bad leg. I just got, surgery on last week, and, don't keep it very specific, tailored for the specific crash that you're talking to the insurance adjuster about. Okay? And then once you've kind of gotten through this part of the phone call with them, you can end the call. And I want you to end the call quickly. Okay? And so here is how I want you to end the phone call. All right? Thanks for your time today. I'll send over the police report and any medical bills or records I've received so far. If you need anything, just let me know in writing. This is important. You want to set up the way that future conversations are going to take place with this adjuster through writing. Make sure that they know that if they need you, they can write you an email, or they can write you they can send you a text. Don't let them berate you with phone call after phone call over the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, wanting information about where you're going to the doctor and all those kind of things. You have to set the groundwork, set the rules, and let them know this relationship is going to take place through email and through email only, or through writing and through writing only. So in your first phone call, if you follow this script word by word, you're going to have a successful first phone call and set your claim and your case up for success. And if you're in South Carolina and you have any questions about a case, or you've been in a car crash and want to talk to a lawyer, feel free to reach out to my office. We'll talk to you for free and talk about your case.